Well, to start this, I am 7 months pregnant. It's the middle of the night. I can't fall back to sleep. And this is on my mind. Because, I just get shit stuck on my mind. But it's, I don't know. Growing up, I honestly didn't really feel all that normal or like the other kids, so I just didn't connect in the same way that I think others did. Because early memories, a lot of them are me just thinking upon them, remembering them, if that makes any sense. So it's not really like I'm remembering it genuinely, or I remember being told the story. So I don't really remember all that much, but from what I do remember, I just never felt right, and in school it was worse, I guess, because I already knew that I was at least a little different in some way. I didn't know what way. It was just some way. And it did affect me in the later years of school, but in elementary school, we're all still learning how to be humans and socialize. So it was a little bit more normalized to be a little bit more quirky and weird. But I remember just always having to move around. So if it was a teacher who didn't care as much, I'd be in and out of my chair. I would always struggle with focusing, but if it was something I really, really liked, I'd click into it and stay clicked into it. And one of the things up until a certain point was math. I was constantly wanting to do math, learn about math. And then certain topics we learn about in like science and history, I would click into those and want to learn every little tiny detail I could find about those. This is even up until now. But I never knew anybody else who really did that, because I would learn every little detail, and learning every little detail and no one else really doing it, they'd be like, why do you know that? Or just learning weirder facts, or just random facts about like just a genre of thing you like. No one else did that around me, and I was okay. And I don't know if I've brought it up on here or if it's been shown, but I fidget with my hands a lot, mostly in terms of picking at the skin around my nails, picking at my nails, biting the skin around my nails. Of course, braces helped minimize the biting of the skin around my nails, but it still happens from time to time. And then I have always, not always, but from what I can remember, I've always done it, because I have memories of first grade going to bite some skin off my finger right after getting hand sanitizer on to go to lunch, and I just remember the taste of the hand sanitizer, and it didn't stop me. And then I of course pick at my lips, and I realized recently I think I might do that in my sleep as well, because either do it in my sleep or being pregnant has made my gums more sensitive, because I wake up with blood on my front teeth almost every single morning, and I know that's not normal. But the finger picking has always been a thing I've done. No one around me has done it. And everyone's like, you gotta stop doing it. You gotta stop doing it. Well, it's something I've been doing for as long as I can personally remember. And it's always been something I've done out of boredom, out of stress, out of anxiety, just any emotion. It's just something I do. And the closest I've gotten to stopping is wearing band-aids on my fingers every single day. But now that I'm working, given I'm working in a kitchen and serving food to people, I can't do that unless I'm wearing gloves all day every day, which is ultimately worse for my hands than better. I don't know. Maybe I could do something on maternity leave. I don't know. But I know that's not normal at all. And any scabs I've always picked at, which that's a more normalized thing, but it shouldn't be, given that it can harm me, and most of my childhood scars have scarred because I picked at them too much. Going on to more of like the middle school aspect, that's when I realized I didn't think I was like the other kids. Like, it was starting to be more realized. Let's also keep in mind, I went to school in like 5 different places, 6 different places, something like that, from preschool up until graduation. So that didn't help at all. But even if I'd been in a place for a while to where most of the school at least knew of me, like, as it should be, there was still always the lingering, she's weird, what's wrong with her, why is she always moving, why does she talk so loud? And then of course gym classes where, okay, you guys are choosing your teams, these are the team captains, and unless the team captain was actually a friend of mine, I always got chose last. I was last pick, and I don't think it was necessarily for my skill, because I would say I was more of an average sports gym person, because it's not like I was bad. I didn't completely ruin everything. I was more average, or I was just confused at what was going on, which became a big problem in middle school, being confused more often than understanding, because everything was changing. I went from just having 1 teacher to 2 teachers to now I have 8 teachers and a whole new schedule, and then that schedule changing every couple of months to 6 months. I think it stressed me out more than I realized, because middle school is mostly when I imploded and my mental health started to spiral. And like, the first time I ever thought about harming myself was in 5th grade. I know the exact story. I wanted to play with this guy. I played with guys more often. I connected with them just slightly better, probably just because I didn't understand women as much, or girls as much. I was raised around boys, and I also knew that I could be slightly more myself around them and them not care it in childhood. And he said, yeah, you can play with me and the other people I'm playing with. And the girls who was playing with him said, like, after a couple minutes or so, once they realized either I had joined the game on my own or he had said something, they were like, you can't play. Sorry, you can't. Although not as nice as that. And To put it lightly, I it it kind of broke me, and I trigger warning. I went under a piece of equipment and I didn't know what to do. I was very heartbroken. It was the first time that someone had been like, no, no, even though I had someone else's permission to do the thing. And I just remember I overwhelmed with feeling, and it being a negative feeling, me not really necessarily knowing the feeling itself. And my first thought was just, oh, just hurt yourself. Of course, as the playground, there's just mulch. The mulch is not sharp enough, thankfully. I had another year until I started self-harming. But, yeah, middle school is when more things like that started happening, given there's no recess anymore. But I shut down because no one wanted to hang around me anymore unless they were already my friend. I couldn't really make new friends anymore. And yes, I moved to the school district in the 5th grade, but everyone's starting puberty between 5th and 6th grade, unless you're a late bloomer. And so I could be wrong. I'm guessing some people's brains had matured just enough to realize mine was different, or mine was delayed in some way. I don't know. But it put into perspective for me, because no one wanted to do group projects with me unless they were my friend or socialized with me enough to realize I'm just a kid. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just different. No one just wanted to interact with me, and so I shut into myself. I had found the internet, which we all know it's on here. And I started watching YouTube and finding animes and watching new shows and trying to find my own interests apart from the ones my family had shown me growing up. And part of that was art. I became relatively reliant on art and writing as a way to express myself and the things that were going on and how I was feeling. And I've gone through most of those sketchbooks, and we can tell that a lot of that time I was not in a good place. But with that, given my access to the internet was never checked, again, as we see. But because it was unchecked, that meant I could go to websites I probably shouldn't have gone to for another, I was 11 and 12, so probably another 5 years. And that led to me learning some things at an earlier age than I should have, or in the wrong way or context. So I was reading a lot of fan fictions. A lot of fan fictions involve sexual content, whether that be direct, indirect, or what have you. That's how I learned what sex was, and most of the fanfics I was reading were gay, and it could have just been me being confused about what was going on in my head, but I was very confused with my sexuality and gender all of my teenage years. Like, I'm just now coming out of my teenage years realizing I don't give two shits about fucking anything. If I want to dress like a guy, I will. If I want to wear a dress, I will. If I want to date a chick, I will. If I want to date a guy, I will. I just don't give a shit. It's, yeah. But, I am thankful I found a way to learn something about sex, because I never once had a sex ed class or a proper health class. Because the health class I had in the 8th grade, I moved away midway through and never got to finish it and barely learned anything. And my senior year, while in Colorado, it was more, oh, this is how you have good health, not this is this thing about the human body, this is what goes on during this. No. Never had a sex ed, never had a proper health class, and that could be part of the reason why I, even to this day, am still quite oblivious to good parts of my body. I didn't know about, like, at least my sexual anatomy and how it was until I was 17, which should not be the case, honestly. But given that I dissociated so much from my own body just because I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I was trying to find what was wrong with me even though it wasn't what was wrong with me, it made that worse. And then add on top of that, all of the YouTube content I was consuming was men, and all of the fan fictions I was reading were about mostly men, and fan fiction content, especially that about women, they just already assume you know about the female body, which, yes, you should once you start reading it. You shouldn't be reading fan fictions when you're 12 years old. But given that men is what I surrounded my intake of, that meant I was learning more about the male body, male anatomy, and everything than my own. And now that I have expanded my horizons, I've personally have noticed that all of the content I watch now is men, like, is made by men or mostly autistic women. And, you know, that puts into perspective, am I somewhere on the spectrum, like, of neurodivergence? Because I already know I'm not normal. I know I have sensory issues. That's why there's some foods I've never brought myself to eat, because I look at it and I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry, I cannot eat that. Coleslaw, all of my life I've looked at it and been like, no. I tried it once and realized, yeah, it's the texture. I can't do the texture. And then same with feeling certain things. I like to feel things to know if it's something I would like or not. And I prefer soft feeling things. All of the blankets we own are softer or fuzzy. And the weighted blankets as well, soft or fuzzy. I have stuffed animals I use as pillows because they feel better than real pillows. And I think this was the case as well growing up, but I didn't buy my own clothes growing up, and so that created a lot of the problems of, I just bought you this thing, why are you not wearing it? Well, I don't like how it feels. And given, unlike my brother, who already had everything he needed diagnosed as they were popping up, because he's a guy and most things are more centralized around guys, and already the family knew from a young age he was gonna have problems. Me, I was the firstborn and I'm the only girl. You don't want to tarnish that, I guess. And so that made it harder. And given that neurodivergence in girls is very often overlooked, given that they most parents get taught about the male criteria rather than the female, and women are better at hiding it, but I feel like come a certain point I was unable to anymore, and that's why all of high school I didn't necessarily have any friends. I couldn't connect with anybody. And even if I did have people to sit with at lunch, I knew that they mostly just tolerated me. They didn't necessarily like me. And this came to be a problem in dating in high school as well. Like, someone would ask me out and I didn't know how I was supposed to feel. And because they liked me, I thought, oh, I need to like them too. And that wasn't the case. I know now that both people need to like each other, and it then generates a successful relationship. Right now, we've been together a year. I'm not going any further than that, but the person I'm with, we've been together a year, and I'm happy, he's happy, aside from our bumps in the road, but everybody in a relationship has bumps in the road that they gotta figure out. And even in dating, in high school especially, I didn't date very many people, but I would try and hyper-focus on them and have them be a big part of what was going on, but it was hard because I didn't know what love felt like. I never honestly felt it. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of emotions that just overlap each other in my brain, so it's harder for me to understand. Like, the easiest way for me to separate them is negative or positive. But with that, of positive emotions, it's really only excitement and happiness, which are already very similar. And then with the negative ones, I mainly see angry or sad. And I know there's more emotions than that. I've been taught there's more emotions than that, but this is all I really see and am able to point out, especially in myself. I can't really see much more, and it's for sure a struggle because someone might just be frustrated and I think they're mad, which as I'm getting older, it's getting easier to figure out these smaller emotions, but growing up, it's hard. It was hard. And unlike most other just people, I didn't necessarily have crushes, and if I did, it was more because the person was nice to me. And given that not very many people wanted to spend time with me or talk about my interests, because I could talk about my interests literally all day long and not shut the fuck up. It meant a lot to me, and that's what would then create a quote-unquote crush in me. And I think if I was more normal, it was just appreciation for the person, but I confused it and saw it as a crush. And I noticed oftentimes it was with guys. I was more emotionally attracted with guys, and about most things, like, more attracted to guys, and that confused me. But I was just confused. I didn't know what was going on. And some of my sketchbooks do have drawings of some of these people, but not all of them do. And thankfully, I don't think I've ever written their last names in my sketchbooks, except for my current one with my current partner, given that we do believe we'll be together for a longer period of time, and we are wanting to be together for a longer period of time, especially with a baby. But with current day, because I understand more and I am able to do more research about things that I had a general idea that I went through, like have gone through, like having the sensory issues and not understanding emotions as well as my peers. It has led me to see that I am neurodivergent. I'm not necessarily giving myself a label, but for the context of like in person, I do say I'm most likely this, but I'm not diagnosed. So then it gives somebody an understanding of why I am the way I am. Because if I say I'm most likely that and undiagnosed, people don't then go, oh, you're just self-diagnosing. I'm not self-diagnosing myself. I'm just saying I suffer through a lot of the same problems as this thing, and it might explain why I am the way I am. Why all of my life I have had an ineffective brain-to-mouth filter. I'm almost always just said. I've never thought and said. And now it's a delayed filter now, to where I might be mid saying something and be like, no, I should not say that, which is better than none, like I've had all my life, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And given that I didn't have a filter, it meant that in certain situations I had to learn a loophole around things, like little kid me. My mom would ask, do I look fat? And little kid me was just like, yeah, she is. But I couldn't just say that to my mom because she would get pissed off. And so I had defaulted into telling her, you just look like a mom. So then she wouldn't get pissed off. It was more of a joking pissed off, which was better because that meant she was in a better mood, rather than being told by her 10-year-old, 12, 14-year-old child, you're fat. But back to what I was saying, I realize now I do go through sensory issues if there's too much going on, whether that be lights are too bright mixed with something being too loud and the way something is feeling all together. I cannot really function, and I get overwhelmed, or if something is too much, I get overwhelmed and I kind of shut down. And that was part of a reason why I couldn't do pep assemblies in high school. They were too much, way too much on me, and I would completely shut down. I was like miles away because I couldn't cope with all of the noise on top of all of the stuff going on in the middle of the room. So I would either skip them or try and get myself as close to the door as possible, so then when it was done, I could just go. I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to suffer through the crowd anymore. I could just go. And given that I had absolutely nothing diagnosed or on my school record that something was wrong with me, that led to, hey, go sit down. Hey, go join your peers. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot do this environment. I need to be closer to the door. But I was too socially awkward to describe that to somebody, and I also didn't understand it as well. And now I do understand it better. I do understand I get overwhelmed easier than, say, the next person, which I know my generation is a bunch of sensitive fucks, but I try not to be the most sensitive fuck of the generation, because I want to do life. I want to participate in life as much as I can physically bring myself to, which, of course, there's days and moments and activities where it's harder, but as I learn more what all of this is, I personally can then avoid the things that make my life more difficult, or find ways to make those situations and places easier for me. I'm not going to be the person that says, oh, this triggers me, you need to fix that. No, because it triggers one person doesn't mean it's going to trigger everybody else, especially if they're going through the same mental disorders or whatever as you. Like, what I personally go through is different from the next person who has these same things going on. Like, one of the best experiences of my life was going to a Fall Out Boy concert, but no matter how excited I was for that, it was still a very overwhelming experience, and it drained everything out of me. And now, if I do go to any other concerts, I do realize I need another person with me, and I probably do need an aisle seat, so then I'm not trapped in the middle of the crowd, or feeling too squeezed in, because, that gets overwhelming, especially as their set goes on and people are getting more and more amped, and if there's alcohol involved, they're getting more and more drunk. So it was a great experience, and now that I'm older and having gone through pep assemblies as well, I know what I need for if I go to any others. So that I'm thankful for. But I don't know if this is correlated. I have a high pain tolerance and a high medicational tolerance, meaning the pain I feel is higher than the pain one of my brothers will feel, and then I need to take more medication than one of my brothers do, which it's difficult and it's hard to balance. And given that all of my periods had severe cramps that would sometimes nearly immobilize me, meaning I was in so much pain I was throwing up, those were very overwhelming experiences, mostly because of everything that was going on in the one time, and pregnancy itself has been very overwhelming for me. The plan is not to have any more for another, at least 5 years. So there's that. But given that just pain, like the overwhelming pain, is something that exists for me, and having a high medicational tolerance, it sucks. It could be unrelated, but it's affected me in a similar way to where I have known it since like middle school that, hey, this is different, but nobody has ever wanted to listen to me that I just need higher medicational tolerances, and that my pain tolerance is higher for most things. Not everything, just most things. When I got my tattoo, I thought it was going to be a walk in the park, and certain spots I couldn't do. I literally could not do, and we had to use numbing cream. And my eyes are something that I can't even put eye drops in. That's why I've always worn glasses and I've never done contacts. And my gums are just as sensitive. I can pick and pick and pick at my gums, and it's going to hurt no matter how delicate I am. The whole time having braces, I could brush my teeth 3 times a day, from one appointment to the next, and I would get to that appointment and they would still say, you need to brush more. And it was just because in my family, we have a lot of gum and teeth issues. So no matter what I was doing, my gums were always going to be upset. And that causes, pain, excess excess pain at the appointments, and then also my gums are just more sensitive to everything. So it made it rough. The braces, certain parts of having braces was overwhelming due to that stuff. And I'm thankful I have them off now. I am not thankful I lost my retainer for a little while, and when I found it again, it didn't fit anymore. Not thankful for that, but I've already told myself I'm not getting braces again unless my doctor says there's a medical reason for me to, because that's the reason I got them in the first place. But, yeah, sensory issues aside, I've said pretty much everything else. If someone wants to fucking dissect this and be like, oh, you probably have this thing in the umbrella of neurodivergence, like, okay. Like, I know I'm a very hyperactive person, and I'm also a very high anxiety person. I am very, very anxious most of the time, whether that be about something that makes sense, something that doesn't make sense. And then same with being hyperactive. I'm always moving. I have to be moving unless I'm asleep. And I'm going to say it this far into the video because most people probably have clicked off. Not pregnant. I do medicinally use marijuana to calm me down and make the anxiety go away, because I cannot function like I should with the amount of energy my system produces, and with the amount of anxiety my system produces. I cannot function. That's why I was pretty much a zombie all of high school, because I could not balance everything, and I was constantly getting given medication that could not help what was going on in me. And this is a medication that does help and doesn't make me feel like a zombie. And given that I'm pregnant in an illegal state, I had to quit. I'm also under the legal age, unless with med card, so I technically shouldn't even be doing it, but, whatever. It's my life. At least I'm not over here doing some fucking crack. But, all of that, even with medically smoking it, I still have all of the same problems as before. It's just the tolerance is better. I have a better tolerance with most of that stuff. So some stuff isn't as overwhelming or as stressful. Like, I've worked some of the more stressful days of my work life with THC and CBD in my system, because last year I worked a job where we were so understaffed. Our closing staff was me, the manager, and a cook. And the only way I could really get through it without having some kind of breakdown was with medical marijuana. So, take what you can. Thankfully, the GM was from Colorado, but that didn't mean anything, because I was pretty much forced to leave that place, no matter how much I enjoyed it there. And thankfully, I found a different place that I enjoy, and they are not as abusive. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this topic. Like I said, if someone wants to comb through this and tell me something I probably already know or something I don't know, go ahead. I'm not doing anything with my time ever except work or pester the cat who just got out of her little cubby. But yeah, I have nothing else to say, so I will let you guys go, and you guys have a good day, night, whenever the hell you're watching this. So yeah, bye.